How have you made a rude person's day worse? I watched a lazy shopper park their grocery cart right behind another person's car instead of putting it in the cart return. I got out of my car, ran up and moved the cart, and put it behind her car. I then ran off and watched her have to get back out of her car, since she couldn't back out, and then finally proceed to put up her cart the right way. I felt like a champion of the people.
This video is brought to you by Fiverr, the biggest, most affordable, and overall the best freelance website there is. It's a place where you can hire anyone from writers to designers and everyone in between for as little as $5. It's absolutely the best place to save time and money for your projects. But if you want to take your business a step further, we would highly recommend Fiverr Pro, a place where you can work with verified, hand-vetted, exceptionally talented professionals that have, with their work for companies like Google or Apple, proven to be the best in their category. Link in the description below.
I'm in a massive line at a store. I'm next in line, but the person in front of me has a shootload of stuff. A helpful clerk sees the mess and opens another aisle saying, "I can help the next customer." Well, that's me. However, the checkout counter has two sides, a right and a left. It is set up for people to come to the right side, but the left can be used as well. As I'm stepping over to her counter, this asshole from the very end of my line is sprinting to her counter, pushing people, with his partner in tow. He arrives right before me. They have a mountain of items in their cart, which he starts throwing on the checkout counter. I'm standing there on the other side with my one item, burning with rage. Checkout girl waits until he stacks all of his shoot on the counter, looks at me, looks at him, and says to him, "I'm sorry sir, you're on the wrong side. You'll have to go to the end of the line," which is now massive. I put on my biggest grin, made eye contact with him as long as possible, and loudly told the clerk how awesome she was. I was riding my bike to work one day, and when crossing a street in the legal zone with a walk sign, a woman ran me over. She drove through the crosswalk looking to turn right and ran right into me. She stopped after I got bumped hard enough by her fender to take a spill and have some bruising all down my side. She gave me an exasperated, "My bad" wave and continued to talk on her cell phone, ignoring me as I picked myself and my bike up. I walked right up to her open window, grabbed her cell phone from her ear, and chucked it into a nearby parking lot as hard as I could. I swear that was the farthest I have thrown anything in my life. She gaped at me in shock as I struggled back onto my bike and slowly rode off, fuming yet victorious. Then a half-mile farther on my trek I got attacked by a goose. Not my best day. TL. Doctor, woman hit me with her car. Got revenge. Got attacked by goose. Edit. Those who have pointed out that riding a bike in a crosswalk is not legal are correct. In this particular instance it was not a sidewalk, but a designated bike path. They had a normal walk signal at an intersection, but I believe it was still acceptable to ride across as it was a bike-specific path. I could be wrong though. I used to work for the Department of Motor Vehicles, and the one I worked at had pretty limited parking. Surprise. I had left for lunch, came back and was having a hard time finding a place to park. I finally found a spot, so I drove up to it and put my signal on, showing that I was waiting for it. People, in my experience, usually respect this and continue on. Not this time. Just as the car was backing out, after I had waited a few minutes, a car came from the opposite side of the lot, made eye contact with me, and then shot right into the parking space. I was so mad, because now I would be late, after looking for a new spot. As I drove past the woman that had taken the spot, I just shook my head, and she responded by shrugging her shoulders, smiling, mouthing the words, "Oh well" to me, and then ran her finger from her eye down her cheek, as if to mock me crying about it. I continued into work, got in trouble for being late, but had actually forgotten about the incident until HOS number gets called to my station, but Miss Spot Stealer herself. The look on her face was priceless. Keep in mind that I'm not your average DMV worker. I understand that stuff happens and waive penalties all the time and treat my customers with respect, because I believe that what goes around comes around, and I know how crappy it is to wait at the DMV all day. I'm usually so nice about getting penalties taken off of people's accounts that I get in trouble for it at times. So, I greet Spot Stealer as nice as I would anyone else. In fact, it may have been nicer than I normally would be. She may have thought I didn't recognize her. Her registration is far past due, with hundreds due in penalties. I'll let her tell me her whole sob story, then finally tell her that she owes in full because she was aware of her due date. She argues it a little until, out of sight from my manager, I mouth the words, "Oh well," and drag my finger from my eye to my cheek, mocking her tears. At that point she puts her head down and proceeds to take out her card and pay the full amount because yes, we do take debit cards. What goes around, comes around. I volunteer at my university, safe walks and all that jazz. We are required to report suspicious and illegal activity. Witnessed a woman driving a Mercedes-Benz across a lawn to bypass the parking gate, tearing up this gorgeous lawn. Being an ex-landscaper and mad at some rich beach, being too cheap for parking, I'm not amused, so we reported it to the parking authority. They show up while the chick is still getting crap out of her trunk, box her in, and start writing a ticket. She ended up driving away, over a curb, peeling her bumper off in the process. Made me kinda happy inside. I was working as a manager in a big nightclub about a year ago. I don't wear a uniform, but have a radio and run the security team. The venue has a great smoking section that looks out onto the street. One night the venue was packed, so I did my usual roam making sure that there were no problems. However, it wasn't too packed to walk through the smoking section, so I walked down the street instead, but could still very easily see into the smoking section. One guy stares me down, then calls me over and starts swearing at me for no reason and telling me that pieces of shit, like you could never even get into a venue like this. He obviously had no idea I was the manager. However, I didn't want to have security get into a fight inside with him. The guy kept telling me he would punch me out, etc., and was clearly trying to look macho to impress someone. So I agreed and told him to come and meet me outside, and he could even have a free swing. He puts his drink down, takes off his jacket and storms outside. Once he walked outside, I walked back inside and told security not to let him back in. The look on his face when he realized I ran the place was priceless, and then the realization that he couldn't get back into the club was amazing. It was the easiest and most fun removal I have ever done. Jackass in the gym once was making some kids of about 14 feel crap, telling them to put some man weights on the bar and to stop being pussies and girls and real lame cliche shoot. Anyway, every time they find a new workout he comes and repeats the process, lifting bigger and trying to embarrass them. I was annoyed but tired and let it slide. Only it happened again. Same kids came in 2 days later and he was there also. He starts doing exactly what he did before. Well, that was it. I walked up right next to him, doubled what he was lifting, and repeated everything he had said to the kids in the last 5 minutes while Bert staring www.youtube.com/watch v=zqy5c. It's to him. He quickly moved on and went to another exercise. But I wasn't done. The kids were looking at me like I was Batman. I followed the guy to the next 3 exercises and did as he had done, saying the same things. Then he left. Never saw him at the gym again, but those boys sure came back and have been making steady gains for over a year now. TL. Doctor put a gym show off douchebag in his place, became Jim Batman. When I was working a shooty job in my younger days, a customer was upset that he had to wait in line like everyone else before being able to make his purchase. He actually said, "Do you know who I am? I own hotels." To which I replied, "Well sir, I'm sorry, but this isn't Monopoly, this is Krispy Kreme." He was not pleased. Went to go get my exhaust fixed. No big deal, pothole poked a hole in it. When I went to go pick up the car a couple hours later, I'm treated to a woman screaming at the guy behind the counter. She's positively foaming because she has been waiting nearly 30 minutes for her car to be fixed. She even goes so far as to call the guy an insignificant lazy immigrant. Guy looks at her, looks at me, throws me my keys, "Here you go, your Magnum's ready, no charge." Looks her directly in the eyes. "Looks like it's going to be more expensive than we originally thought. Would you like us to call you a cab?" I returned shortly afterwards with pizza for the shop. TLDR, FCK beaches, get pizza. Guy got out of his car to express some road rage to me. I just got out of my truck, walked past him, pushed the lock button on his door, closed it, walked past him again, his mouth hanging open this time, got back in my truck and drove off. He seemed to be frozen with confusion. Just the other day I was at a Chinese buffet and the 3 people in the booth next to me were questioning the waitress. She appeared to be Asian Hispanic about voting for the president and who she planned to vote for. She had trouble understanding them and communicating that she could not vote. They immediately began taunting her that she shouldn't be here if she couldn't vote, that she didn't even know who the president of the United States is, and then took a picture and said they would post it on Facebook. I later found out the waitress was on a school visa and couldn't vote, but was unable to convey that to them. After the waitress walked off, one of the girls at the table, the one who took the pic, looked up and asked me where I worked, because I looked familiar. When I replied the local university in the social work department, she commented that she had recently been in my office to apply to our program, to which I replied, yes, I remember you, and am also on the admissions committee, followed with a wink. The color drained from her face and she knew she was screwed. Kumasi Beach. I'm a manager at a grocery store, so I get awesomely rude customers on a daily. Every Wednesday is senior discount day. You have to be 55 to 60 to qualify for the discount. Needless to say, Wednesdays are tense. Lots of seniors, and lots of other people who don't want to deal with the seniors. I don't generally mind the old folks. Most of them are pretty cool and have some interesting stories and cute jokes. This Wednesday there was one particular customer who was being a huge pain in the ass from the moment she walked in. She was tall, blonde, high heels, very made up, and dressed to the nines. She was probably late 30s to early 40s. She came storming up to customer service. There are no parking spots. This is ridiculous. I'm going to request to corporate that you expand your parking lot, since you don't seem to have the initiative to request that yourself. Off to a great start, lady. She comes storming back up about 45 minutes later. I'm in a huge hurry, and every line has someone in it. I need to check out here. We had 3 lines open, and each one had one single customer. I say no problem, but I'll get you at a checkout. You have too many items to get here. She has a huge hissy fit. I don't have time for this. Let's go. As I'm checking her out, it is constant beaching. You only have one brand of MAC. That is ridiculous. I only wear MAC, but I was going to settle for Evelyn, but you don't even have that. Now I have to make a whole separate trip. Please don't put my bread on top of my eggs. The eggs could roll over and crush you the bread. Please bag my avocados separately. I need to use those for a face mask tonight. They need to be perfect. I have a photo session for work tomorrow. I'm in a magazine. She was unbelievable. Finally, at the end, I had enough. As she's about to pay, I say, don't forget today is senior discount day. You get 5% off. She just stared at me. What? I smiled broadly. Every Wednesday, senior citizens get 5% off their bill. I'll go ahead and take it off. You are 55 to 60, right? She is staring at me, debit card in hand, cheeks getting red. I lose my smile slowly and say, oh, you don't qualify? Sorry about that. Maybe next year. Thanks for your honesty. I haven't seen her in the store since. Best comment of the day. I got a story too. TLDR, the loud dude in my class kept annoying everyone, so I roast his pages. I was trying my best to focus on my work in a math class I was really good at, but I just didn't really like it. The guy in front of me at my table was being loud and obnoxious. Apparently, he had forgotten his eraser and asked to use mine. I tossed it to him, and it bounces off the table, landing in his lap. The kid next to him said something like, dude, you hit his dick. All I had to say after it was, well, I must be a sharpshooter then. It's a small target.